All right, hello, COMM 353 students. I'm here with Sadija from SAILS. I know you all have been awaiting to hear from her and how she started her organization and some of the inspiration behind that. So we're going to provide a short interview for you. I'm just going to ask Sadija a couple questions and hear some of her thoughts and perspectives. So Sadija, do you want to start off with telling us a little bit about yourself, just kind of broadly?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm Sadija Smiley. I'm the founder and CEO of SAILS, Stillborn and Infant Loss Support. And I'm here in Maryland. I am a rainbow mom of two rainbow babies and an angel mom of one daughter who's the inspiration for the organization that passed away.
Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for letting us be a part of this with you. I know a lot of us have felt a great learning experience, so I really appreciate that.
Thank
Um,
you.
what was your inspiration for starting SAILS? And I can gather that it's some personal experience, but maybe just kind of the narrative of how that came to be.
Sure. Definitely the story of losing my daughter at 9 months pregnant. I was 36 weeks pregnant when my first daughter, Aviana, passed away. And so that was the initial inspiration behind it. It took a long time to kind of get it started, having to deal with my own grief and pain and emotions as a result of losing my daughter. It wasn't until she passed in 2003, it wasn't until 2017 that the organization actually was formed. And I've worked in nonprofit all of my career since being in college since 2001. And so I knew how nonprofit organizations worked, really wanted to give back to the community, especially the community of lost families, mothers and fathers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, that also experienced this type of loss. And it was a need. I needed it when I lost my daughter. And even today, almost 17 years later, we still have the need for that support and those resources for the families that will be impacted by this type of loss.
Mhm. Thank you. Can you describe to us SAILS' mission?
Yeah, so our mission is to provide resources and support to those that have been impacted by the loss of a baby from conception through the first year of life, as well as raise awareness, because not many people are as familiar with stillbirth or miscarriage or other pregnancy loss and how often it happens. Miscarriage is pretty common, so people sometimes are familiar with that, but nothing really beyond the 12 weeks of pregnancy. And so our mission again is to raise awareness and provide that support to those individuals that have been impacted by this type of loss.
Thank you. Where do you see SAILS in the next 2 to 3 years?
I see SAILS moving right now as I guess, a startup nonprofit, if you will, still in the early stages. The office is here in my home in the basement. There's no paid employee. I am the the executive director, the marketing manager, the volunteer coordinator. So definitely the next 2 to 3 years, even if we don't have a physical space, expanding the team and really being able to split up those duties so that we can be more effective and efficient in the community, and mobilizing our support and resources, being able to meet people in hospitals, where they really need us in the very beginning, but also being able to transition with them into their homes to provide that in-home support, as well as networking in the community, building our community partner base, because we can't do this alone. We shouldn't have to anyway. So, really connecting with more community partners so that we can have a greater impact on those families that need us.
Fantastic, thank you. And how did you come up with the name, logo, and kind of some of those materials?
Yeah, so name, the name actually came after the logo. So for the logo, there's been 3 iterations of the logo so far. I think we're on our last one now. But from the very first iteration till now, it's always been a sailboat with waves underneath. And the mission, or the vision rather, behind that is being that sail to guide folks along the waves of this journey, of grief and bereavement, and just identifying resources. So that was the first version. And then later on, I wanted to incorporate my daughter. And so the most recent graphic designer that I worked with was able to put her silhouette in one of the sails on the boat. So that was, it was good for me. I was like, oh yes. So it was, because she's obviously the inspiration behind this. So being able to include her in the logo was very important. And then the name, I'm an acronym like fanatic. I love, I love acronyms.
Yeah.
I love acronyms. And so having the idea of the sailboat, and I was like, sail, and then just identifying words that would fit our mission, that fit that acronym. And also, another important thing for me behind the name is when you're doing grant applications and things of that nature, sometimes you don't always have an opportunity to explain what the mission is, or they may not even look past the name. So it was important for me to have part of our mission and who we served in the name, to encourage people to read more and also let them know what we're about if they never get to the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah, well, I get the acronyms. They work, so I appreciate that. And that's a really beautiful story about being able to incorporate your daughter into that visual. That's really fantastic. How what do you want to see in terms of SAILS online presence and kind of online community?
I think that one of the biggest things is building a community, because it's important for me to both bridge the gap, but to provide resources and information to those that have been impacted, but also to the community that we live in, because not everybody has been impacted. And so the online presence for me is twofold. One, to provide that information for those directly affected, and then to provide information for those who will come in contact with those that have been impacted by it. And so having research and data and statistics, but also inspiration and encouragement to those that are currently on this journey, but and information for other people to help individuals that they know that are on the journey, and just really be able to bridge that gap. So research, data, visuals. I'm learning now with online that pictures and captions and animations are really important. So having those things as well.
That's great. Fantastic. And what do you think are some of the benefits of social media to some of those things you just mentioned, like the building community and other things?
I think the major benefit, especially, you know, in these times that we're living in now, is still being able to speak to people wherever they are, even without this, you know, pandemic and this situation. It's important for me and for everyone to be able to have access to that information. So building the community, but being able to reach people at any time of the day. They can go online and look at what they want. There's no pressure. So they can, you know, view it at their own pace whenever they're ready. It's always there for them. And then especially during these times, being able to provide information to folks that aren't able to get out, that would normally come to an event, and then being able to reach beyond where we are. You know, having an online presence give us the ability to reach beyond Laurel, beyond Maryland, beyond the US. Honestly, we have followers that are, you know, out of the United States as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what are some of the challenges of social media, or maybe some of the costs that you've found trying to get it up and running for your organization?
The main challenge is the time to be able to do it. While I manage sales and all the aspects, I'm also, like I mentioned in my intro, I'm a mother, so I'm caring for two children here on earth. I also work full time, so I have my job. So the thing for me is the time and being able to manage it, learning how to have a calendar and make it easy, putting in the work on the front end to make it easier as you roll through the month. The other challenge I would say is the content. For me, you know, there's only so much you can put on there. I'm very lengthy. I love giving descriptions and I write long things.
It's hard.
So it's very hard to make it short, concise, and eye-catching, you know, and not have these long posts that people may or may not scroll down to read, and identifying like what kind of stands out and captures people's eye to have them read more if it is going to be something long. And then the cost of definitely time. And yeah, I would say time. It's not too much, you know, in terms of financial cost, but I have had to don't have the time, you know, pay other people to put together graphics. And then I find some time doing that, it's like, oh, but I would rather have said this. They didn't quite capture this. And so it's hard sometimes finding the right person,
Mhm.
you know, that can communicate the vision and the message. And so just trying different people until you find the match.
Great, thanks. Um, and is there anything else that you would like to share that I have not yet asked you about?
I think one of the things that since we won't be able to meet in person, having the folder and the content that you guys provided, that your class provided, was very helpful. I know we didn't get a chance to do the event. However, those are good outlines and templates that we can use, you know, for the future. And even some of the calls to action, it was the material that you guys provided was really helpful. Not only was it helpful for me to promote things, but I learned a lot about the messaging, the wording, and placing, you know, photos and what to use. So it was helpful for me. So that's one thing that I really want to mention, is how helpful, you know, the partnership has been in the content that delivered. So I've learned a lot. I've gotten excited a little bit. I feel a little bit better about social media. It's not as intimidating.
It was a mutual learning experience. And I know the students are going to be so thrilled to hear that, because I haven't had a chance to tell them that either. So I know they're going to be really happy to hear that. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I will be stopping our recording, but then thanking you also as well. So this is us signing off, COMM 353.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.